Hey guys, so for this week's talk, I wanted to do a review of what God has done in my life during 2017. And so there's two words that I think can highlight and really emphasize and draw out. When we say highlight, right? When we pick our two words, I want us to do more than just say that word is the label for my year. And of course we've got stories for it. I want us to go deeper than that. I want, the word might be the right word, whatever that word is for you, or maybe two words for you for your year. But in those words, I want you to sit in them for a while. Maybe take some time today or tomorrow and really meditate on them. Really listen to what Holy Spirit would say to you about them. Let them kind of be woven into the fabric of who you are so that it impacts you at an even deeper level as you wrap up and end this year, and so that it stays with you, going with you forward. Because we don't want to just say this year was about that, and we, of course, remember it as we go forward, but it doesn't impact us at the very core of who we are. We want to literally change the makeup of us, the DNA of us. So when I think about a word, I'm actually going to highlight two words. I'm going to emphasize two words. I'm going to recognize. I'm going to affirm. I'm going to lift up. I'm going to hold up that there are two words for my life this year. So I'm inviting you to think of your words, and really don't think of them yourself. Ask God to speak them to you. Two words that got into the marrow of who I am, that got into the DNA of my spirit, my soul, that got programmed so deeply into my mind that as I fell asleep, I thought about these words, these concepts, what they represent, what they were growing and becoming in me, right? They became programmed in my mind. So as I went to sleep, that happened. As I woke up, that happened. As I had dreams, they impacted, they infected in a good way the dreams. They became friends. They became friends that were companions with me. And you know that friends are not always companions that make you feel good. A good friend, a true friend, will speak truth into your life in such a way that at times it will be difficult to hear. So here are the two words. The two words are wait or waiting. Did a lot of waiting. Not only did I do a lot of waiting, we're going to get into that. It's not just about doing a lot of waiting. This is very key, guys. I hope you can pick up on this. Or even if you don't understand it when I first say it, at least I invite you, please meditate on what this could look like in your life for your word. It wasn't just that I did a lot of waiting. That when we start saying we did a lot of that, so that's what that year was about, we really leave it behind. It doesn't become a part of us. So I didn't just do a lot of waiting. I started to become waiting, become what it is to be waiting. What is it like to be patient? What is it like to be a child of God that waits patiently on him? Not doing the doing comes out of the being. So sure, there was a lot of waiting. That's just on a schedule. That's in terms of my actions, my thoughts. Okay, I didn't move forward in the area that I could have chosen to, but God, you told me not to. But true waiting, and what God truly wants to do in us is not just to say, hey, you did a lot of waiting this year. He wants to say, did you become waiting this year? Did you become patience this year? Did you become trust? Because trust is core to waiting. How is your trust? How is your faith, Billy? And not are you doing trust, because you can do trust. You can say, I'm going to trust you, so I'm going to go do that thing you told me to do. No, but become trust. Who I am is a trusting person. Who I am becomes a patient person. Who I am is a waiting person. So the first word is wait, waiting, waiting, being patient, being trusting. And the other word is broken. Such a good word. I love it. Brokenness, broken. And a lot of you got to follow me on the journey. It's been a long journey of brokenness. And a lot of the brokenness in my whole life has come from my own wrong and bad decisions. And a lot of the brokenness has come from things outside of my control, specifically related to my children. But a lot of you followed me and you were companions with me. You were friends alongside me. You walked through it with me and you encouraged our family day after day with your comments and your likes on Facebook. And you sent gifts to Savannah after her surgery that not only blessed her, but blessed all of us. But you saw me walk through brokenness with my middle daughter, Savannah's surgery, and many other ways. But specifically this year, that was a big one. And once again, it's not about saying this year was about brokenness. This year was about me experiencing brokenness, walking through brokenness. I don't want to walk through brokenness only. As I walk through it, I want it to become me. I want to become brokenness. Now you might say, isn't that a little, is the word masochistic? Is that a little, why would you desire pain? And I'm my second book that I'm writing, I'm working on finishing up my first, The Hungry Prayer, My Journey Back to the Perfect Community is subtitled. And I'm working right now, my second book, The Blessing of Pain, Savannah's story. It's about brokenness. Pain leads to brokenness, which leads to us being open so that God can fill us and flow through us. So I want to be brokenness. Okay, I want to be broken. And a part of brokenness is also trust. Being brokenness is being that weakness where God says, when you're weak, I can be strong. Now, he didn't say, when you're weak, I am strong. He said, when you're weak, I can be strong in you. He's always strong. He doesn't need me to be weak for him to be strong. He is strong. But I need to be weak so he can be strong in me. That's the beauty of brokenness. In our society, I believe, see if you agree with me, that for the most part, we avoid brokenness. We avoid weakness, right? We go and get our high school diploma, and then our college degree, then a master's degree, and some of us a PhD or a doctorate or whatever it might be. And we climb the ladder and we do whatever we can to strengthen ourselves so that we can be strong enough to ward off the bad things such as not having enough money, not being able to get a job, not being able to provide for ourselves, not having the things that we need, not having, Maslow, whatever his name is, hierarchy of needs, not being able to have those basic needs. We've got to have those basic needs. So what I need to do to have those basic needs is I've got to be strong enough. And what God would say is, no, you need to be weak enough so that this is God talking, so that I can be strong in you. But if you're going to rely on your strength, you can't rely on your strength and God's strength. So God would say to you, and God says to me, God says to us, I invite you to be broken. I invite you to be weak enough so that he can be strength in us. So the two words for this year for me are waiting and brokenness. And I don't want to just look back and say, I went through those things, I did those things. I want to say, that's what I'm becoming. A waiting man, a patient man, a trusting man, a broken man, a weak man. And that's when God can be everything that he is and wants to be in my life. So I want to share two Bible verses that were my two Bible verses this year. And then I want to share 4 books that represent kind of what I went through this year. So the first Bible verse was probably my core verses. Romans 8:30 through 31 for this year. I think both of these verses plus the one other I'm going to share from Genesis, I think are life verses. I encourage you to adopt them. Romans 8:30 through 31 says, and having chosen them, and then the verse 4 says, all the verses before, like Romans 8 is all about that God has adopted us as his children, that he has gone out and he has sought us, that we are his creation. And I won't go deep into it, but I'll just once again say, I am a strong believer in intelligent design. I look around, if you took a look around where you are, if you're in a room, everything that's not God made is man made. There's, people made, okay? There's nothing that does not exist without design, all right? I see walls here. I see the carpet. I see this chest of drawers type thing. I see a thing holding pictures. I see a nativity scene. I see a light switch. I see a light over there. There's a bed over here to my side. I'm sitting in this chair, all designed, like intelligent design. Okay, did not just pop out of thin air. Well, hence to me, creation thus follows. In fact, I think it's the other way around. All this followed the fact that creation was created. Intelligent design to me is just logical. Okay, so what Romans 8 is saying before we get to verse 30 is that our Creator has said, I created you, I want you, I pursue you. Psalm 23:6 says that his loving kindness and his goodness pursues us all the days of our life. Right now, today, God is pursuing me, he's pursuing you. So then we come to Romans 8:30 through 31. And having chosen us, God calls us to come to him. So he says, I've chosen you. I've chosen you. Now I invite you to come to me. Be with me. Now he's not forcing. He doesn't choose you and say, I got you. I'm going to pick you up and take you to myself. No, you're not a slave. You're invited to be a son or a daughter. So having chosen you, he calls you to come to him. And having called you, and having called me, he gives us right standing with himself. So we come to him, but we're imperfect and he's perfect. So he invites us to him, and then he says, I'm going to make you right. I'm going to cover you in the blood of Jesus, my son. My son gave his life so that you could be in right relationship with me. And having given them right standing, he gave them his glory. Woo! That's the good part. It's all good, but that's where you just go, mind blown. He gave us his essence. He gives us his love. We are his beloved. So Paul is blown away by this too, and he says, what shall we say about such wonderful things as these? Paul is stumped. Paul goes, I don't even know what to say. If God is for us, who can ever be against us? And that's what Joseph realizes in Genesis 50:20 when he's talking to his brothers, and his brothers say, oh, I hope you aren't angry that we beat you, threw you in this well, this cistern well, whatever. I don't know what it was, right? And then we sold you into slavery. Please don't be mad. And he goes, don't be afraid. This is Genesis 50:20. You intended to harm me, but God intended it all for good. He brought me to this position so I could save the lives of many people. And as I've gone through waiting this year, as I've gone through brokenness this year, over and over this verse goes through me. And I kind of say to Satan, I don't want to talk to Satan very much, but I say to the enemy, I say to the challenges, I say to the brokenness, I say to the things that have hurt my kids, especially Savannah, but to our family, to me, I say, you know what, bad stuff, you know what, challenges, what you intend to hurt me, what you intend to hurt my daughter, what you intend to hurt our family, God is actually going to be able to use it, and he is using it for good, for his glory, to encourage others, to inspire others, to lift others up, and to encourage and inspire us, and to break us so that more of God can come into us, to reveal to us that in truth we are weak, so that when we realize we are weak, he can be strong. What you have intended for bad, God is using for good. He brought us, our family, to this position so that we could save, so that we could encourage, so that we can inspire the lives of many people. So that's Genesis 50:20. To wrap up, here's a few books that I've read this year that have been incredibly special. It started with kind of going back to the mystics and the saints. They spent such good time with God. This is Teresa of Avila, Interior Castle. I first read Mansions of the Heart, which is a more recent telling of this thought that God gave to Teresa. And this was written, I think, in the 1500s, 1400s, 1500s. I think 1500s is when she lived in Spain. And this was, and it continues to be, read it, incredible because it's about the heart of the Father. It's about intimacy. And then there's this book, which I continue to go through. This is a daily thing, a sacred listening. So it just guides you. This is Ignatius of Loyola, St. Ignatius, his exercises that God gave him hundreds of years ago to connect with God on a daily basis, these meditations through the scripture. And then this is a book that a friend gave me recently. It's The Beauty of Christ Through Brokenness. And God had, as I've told you, really been talking to me about brokenness, long before this book. But this book just kind of sums it up in a good way. And I'm writing a book about pain and brokenness right now. And then lastly, Henry Nouwen has really become kind of one of my best friends. He's not alive, but through his books, I've become his great friend, and he has become mine. And this is beautiful. This is the diary of his final year. So literally every day he wrote up until his death. He didn't know he was going to die, but it was a year sabbatical that he wrote every day. And Henry Nouwen's where I've gotten the concepts this year of the fact that we are chosen, blessed, broken, so that God can be given through us. That's Nouwen. Nouwen's the one that says 3 lies of identity are: I am what I have, I am what I do, I am what people say or think about me. Those are the 3 lies of identity. Nouwen also says that we are not called to be successful, but we're called to be fruitful. He also says that everything starts in communion with God, and then out of that communion with God, we go into community with others who are in community with God, who are in communion with God. And then from that communion with God and community with others who are in communion with God, we go out and do ministry. And most of us are doing the opposite. So there's so much good from now on. So this year has been about waiting, and I'm continuing to wait on him, and about brokenness, and I'm continuing to become brokenness and become waiting and saying, God, break me. Help me step into my weakness so you can be strong, and help me wait in that place, not desiring to move forward into a place of being. These are the other things. The 3 temptations that we face, Nouwen says, are the desire to be relevant, the desire to be spectacular, and the desire to be influential. And God is saying, wait, don't be tempted by the desire to be relevant, spectacular, and influential. Don't go there. Continue to wait on me and be patient and be waiting so that I can break you more and you can become brokenness so that he can step in and he can be relevant, he can be spectacular, he can be influential in my life and through my life. To cherish those things. What has God called you to become and to cherish in 2017? Be encouraged. Be blessed in your weakness, your brokenness, and your waiting. Thank you, guys.